Hey, this is Jason Moss with the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, and we're having a pretty fun visit with our friends over at Okabashi. So we're conducting the Manufacturing Success in Georgia book tour, and we've been able to meet with a lot of leaders around the state with different products that they bring to the market. And I'm really excited about this visit because this kind of helps kick off the beginning of the book. So in chapter 2 of Manufacturing Success in Georgia, we talk about the history of manufacturing across the state, and one of the things that comes up is footwear, shoes, and that kind of thing. And right here in Buford, Georgia, I'm going to let Sara tell a little bit more of the history because I know she's better versed in it. But right here in Buford, we had a shoe factory, and Okabashi has kind of stepped in those shoes to make a crazy Jason pun there, but manufacturing is alive and well in Georgia. Footwear industry, there's not a ton of manufacturers here, but we're really excited to be able to learn about not only shoes, but also the success that Okabashi has had. We're going to hear a little bit about the history, what's been going on, how did Okabashi come to be here in Buford, what's going on currently, and then maybe we're going to see if we can get Sara and Kim to give us a little bit of ideas about what's going on in the future. So with that, what I want to do is just pitch it over to you, Sara, and I'd like you to tell us who you are, what's your role here, and a little bit of history on the company.
Well, thank you, Jason. It's so nice of an intro and so happy to be here. So my name's Sara Irvani. I am a third-generation shoemaker. Nice. I stepped into my position as CEO about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Crazy how time passes, but I actually grew up coming to the factory as a little girl following my father, who'd been running the company. And it was started by my grandfather in 1984. Okay. Previously, my grandfather had been the largest footwear manufacturer and retailer in the Middle East. This was in the 1960s and 70s. And, he was a different type of businessman. Mm-hmm. In the 1970s, there was a Wall Street Journal front page article about him. And one of the things that it highlighted was, who is this businessman, independent of where in the world, who pays women as much as men? Huh. And so it's interesting that, I really sort of looked to my grandfather for being a values-driven leader from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And so, with the Iranian Revolution, everything got nationalized, and looking at where in the world to start manufacturing again, it was really Buford, Georgia that came up with all of the advantages that we love Georgia for all of us within the manufacturing community, and bought a 200-acre piece of land, which is still here. I call it our little woodland, which surrounds the factory. And it was really my father who was running it while I was growing up. Okay. And I sort of had gained a little bit of experience outside of the family company, which I think when one talks about family businesses, definitely recommend that approach. And when my father was looking to retire and have a bit more ice cream in his life, I think there's so much potential for sustainable American production that jumped in the deep end, and so happy and lucky to be jumping in the deep end with a brilliant team, and we've really enjoyed working together since then. So that's a little bit about myself and the company, and you mentioned it in the book, which is fantastic. When we started, 60% of shoes were being made in the U.S.
And that was in 84. 60% of the shoes that were consumed in the U.S. were made.
Yeah, and now it's 1% of shoes.
Wow,
so you just see, and we've all seen these sort of empty factories turned into restaurants, which, even though they're cool, break my heart.
Right.
And so we've seen all types of headwinds, and we just decided we care to know how our shoes are made, how people are being treated. So we're going to keep manufacturing here in Georgia.
Perfect. Well, that sounds great. Well, I love doing introductions. They're always fun to do. But what I want to do is I want to put you on the spot and do a quick introduction of Kim. I love throwing you a little curveball there.
Hi there. I'm Kim Falkenhayn. So good. Nice to meet all of you. And I've been with the company since 2008. Time really flies. I'm supply chain professional is my background, and now I'm over manufacturing here, which is very near and dear to my heart. I love being in factories. I love seeing things be made. Consumer products is a really fun category. It's a really challenging category, but it's a really fun category to be in. So that's what I do.
So
here at
supply
Okabashi.
chain, tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in the supply chain.
Oh my goodness.
What's it looking like these days? That's a loaded question.
Kim got the top question.
Right. We all got to be nice, right?
These past 18 months have been unlike anything that we've ever seen in the supply chain. And, we've seen lead times extend and extend again, and we've seen scarcity and things that have never been a problem before. And you sort of had to throw your past experience out the window to a certain degree and relearn where we are and how to operate in this kind of environment. Lead times that were 1 to 2 weeks are now 8 to 10 weeks.
Wow.
And we're just seeing the need to plan and forecast so much further in advance, which is very challenging, but it's also forced us to really look forward into the future and figure out what we're going to be doing 3 and 4 months in advance and put our planning hats on to a greater degree than we've ever had to.
So let me pick in that area a little bit. I went to a training session one time to learn about sales and operations planning, right? Mm-hmm. And wow, I was fascinated. The person who was giving the presentation gave the example of if you run an M&M factory, right? So in Christmas you want green and white and red M&Ms, right? But in Valentine's Day coming up, shortly thereafter, you want pink and white. So manufacturers have to be able to predict, have to look at that crystal ball and figure out what's next, right? What's going to, how much pink food coloring do we need to supply for Valentine's? But shortly after Valentine's, you don't want a lot of pink M&Ms, right? But you also don't want to have any empty shelves. That's the other challenge is you got to get it pretty close to right on the front end. And so sales and operations planning, man, that is, what are you guys, what are you seeing? I know it's hard to predict, but being able to prepare for the colors of shoes and the quantities of shoes and the styles. You guys have more than, just M&M colors. What are some of the other things that you have seen as far as in preparation? You said that you sort of shortened the cycle on your planning, but what does that mean out in the marketplace?
Well, it really means looking quite a bit further out than, usually we could make a little bit more adjustments on the fly, a little bit closer to the time of manufacturing, and we're having to plan a lot further in advance. And I'm sure other manufacturers are seeing a lot of the same things. There are strange things that are in scarce allocations right now. Yellow pigments have become difficult to come by, and you have to plan much further in advance. And you might think yellow is not the most popular color, but it's in fact in so many other colors. You cannot make tans and browns without yellow, and those are very popular shoe colors. Yeah. So we're having to think so much further in advance and look at where the trends are going and what our customers are expecting. And even beyond that, we've seen unexpected surges in demand, because you would think international freight, how is that going to affect Okabashi? We're a domestic manufacturer. But in fact, some of our customers have been unable to get our competitors' footwear imported in the United States in a timely manner, which means the demand has surged in a way that you would not have expected.
Hey, we'll take it, right?
We'll take it. No, we'll take it. We're happy to see that, but it's been, the planning aspect of that it's been more difficult to plan, but good things.
Okay. Well, you touched on a couple things in there. Is transportation is a big deal, and we just interviewed Justin Hughes of Diesel Grip, and he is he's a company that does freight. So he's got trucks and he's about a 150-mile radius of the Atlanta area. And he was talking about some of the challenges that impacted their business across the board that they weren't expecting. He said, off camera, he was like, there's 2 weeks in the summer and 2 weeks in the winter that guaranteed stuff is going to break, right? And it just happens to be usually around watermelon season in Georgia. I don't know why stuff breaks around there, but he said that because of that, there's always an interesting time for trucks. So there's always a huge demand for trucks, but there's peaks that they have to deal with. And he said he had one truck that broke down, and it was a common failure in that model of truck in their fleet. And what he found was he reached out to a tow truck company to come pick his truck up and get his driver off the side of the road. And they're like, "Well, I'm sorry, we don't have any tow trucks." Who would have thought, right?
It is crazy times, and I think that the only way that we sort of get around all of these challenges that we're facing is through putting our heads together and collaborating.
Yes.
When we're talking to a lot of our supply base, majority of whom is in Georgia, to really say, okay, these are the challenges that you're facing. How do we partner together stronger and de-risk and be more effective as a team,
right,
rather than saying, no, that's your problem, these are our expectations, and we want it to operate like it was 2019.
Right.
I think if you're pragmatic and if you're collaborative and if you're open, you can be so much more solution-oriented.
I love that. And from the CEO's perspective, I'd love to kind of pick your brain a little bit more on that. What are some of the things, what are the initiatives that you guys are taking to be more collaborative, or any suggestions that you might have for other leaders in the space? Because we have got folks from all around the country listening to this.
I would say just, bring in your key partners.
Okay.
And have an open brainstorm and really say, what are the complexity drivers for you and your business? Mm-hmm. And how do you work on a much more of a specific basis of saying, okay, if that particular element drives complexity, how do we work around it? And just, as you said, throw everything or your MOs out the window and reestablish new ones.
Right.
And I think just bringing people together around a table, physical if one can, if not virtual, we've all learned how, and say what's been happening with you, and please be honest, and that's how we'll work best together.
Right. I love that. And I kind of want to chat with you about that as well, because we dug in together during COVID. We all got to learn new tricks, right? I mean, who would have ever thought I'd be driving around the state in an RV doing interviews, post-COVID? But the pieces kind of fell together so that I could finish the book. Prior to COVID in 2019, we hosted, so Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, for the new folks out there, is an association. It's a for-profit industry association to support manufacturers around the state. We do plant tours and networking events and educational sessions. And we hosted 120 live events in 2019. We've come out here and toured Okabashi because you guys have got such a nice facility and have been very open and welcoming in the past to come out and take tours. And when the COVID hit, we went from doing 120 live events to, what are we going to do now? And man, that was a mess. We didn't know exactly what the next steps were. And so we had to figure out real quick what we were going to do. We had to pivot. And we went virtual. We had to go online. And I'm not a technology guy, not a virtual guy, but I knew we had to do something to serve our community. That being said, because of Zoom and the connections that we made, several companies stepped up, and you guys were one of the leaders to step up to be able to share what you were doing in your facility. And that made such a huge difference for the leaders to share what was working and what wasn't working, right? And so some of the things I think we're going to take past COVID, which is cool, but I think that there's still a lot of opportunities to grow the relationships long term. So associations, are y'all working with other kind of any associations, or do you plan to work in those areas and other like leadership development things? I mean, anything in those areas that you're looking to grow into?
Definitely across the board, and I think that both with nonprofits, we're so lucky to be in Gwinnett as well, and have such a strong support system here. But we're lucky to have the ability and the opportunity to talk with so many leaders across our field and other fields. But also, how do we bring those learnings, and how do we incorporate it into training for our team here in the factory as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I think that our focus will be in the next coming months, is how, we create so much upwards opportunity for our team member, but how can we augment it with more leadership training internally?
Okay. And you guys are pretty hands-on. This manufacturing is real manufacturing. You guys have men and women out in the field making shoes. Tell me a little bit about your production ability, your capabilities, and maybe some of the technologies that you've been able to bring on board recently.
So we have a range of injection molding capabilities across the board. A lot of, proprietary compounds that Kim has spearheaded in developing, all Berry Amendment compliant.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been really great to develop. And on the other hand, the distribution and the warehousing of it, our team is super diverse across every access of diversity.
Right.
We obviously gender parity is something that's important to us as well. And it's just been really great to create that sense of belonging in the Okabashi family, as well as, how do we be cutting edge innovative, and how do we do that in a way that is supportive of the team. And I love sort of strong juxtapositions, and one normally thinks that these two items are mutually exclusive, and they're not in the slightest.
Yeah, I love that. And tell me a little bit about y'all's the drive and the passion that you have for the environment. That's one of the things that always stands out to me, that I always think about, from the first time we came out and toured. That was kind of a cornerstone. So tell us a little bit about that.
I think Kim.
Okay.
Sure. Yes. So sustainability is really a passion of ours, and we work very hard to incorporate bio-basis in our compounds. For example, our Okabashi sandals are 45% soy by weight. Can you say that about any other shoes that you wear? So fun. And it's really wonderful. We've worked with some of the soy organizations across the country, met some really wonderful people there, and some of the farmers and everything. And it just feels great to be supporting our community here in the States. And we have other compounds that just utilize bio-basis or else utilize recycled content. That's another way to be sustainable. And even beyond those areas, supporting the local community, not importing things from across the ocean, reducing your carbon footprint. All of these things are really important to us. So when we're going out to look for a new supplier, we're looking in Georgia first.
I love that.
We want our neighbors to be our suppliers, because we're all a network. We're all supporting each other here. And really, local is the way to be sustainable.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, a couple of the other pieces that I wanted to kind of touch on is what are you guys doing in the workforce? That's one. The three things that pop up again is workforce, supply chain, and business development. I know a lot of folks in the manufacturing space do a lot of their sales through trade shows. Now, of course, we were supposed to have the Georgia Manufacturing Summit. We were expecting to have 1,000 people in 2020. Man, everything was rocking along, and then we took a little detour, which is cool. We all had opportunity to go through that. But I've seen that trade shows are just, man, they're really coming back strong. Do you guys market through trade shows? And if you've lost it, are you planning on getting back into that space when the time comes?
We do trade shows, and likewise took a bit of a hiatus from them, but are going back, and it's a great chance to meet people in person. And I think that there is a lot we've all been through, whether it's in our professional or in our personal life, tough times this past year. But I think it's also important to recognize that there have been good things that come out of it.
Absolutely.
And that celebration of relationships, of community, is certainly one of them. And so we're excited to go and see customers in person and sort of embrace our community in every single way that we can. I think that they'll come back, though, with a digital edge as well. We won't completely lose that element either. But I think that the in-person will come back, and probably stronger than before.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm part of the national trade show executives group, and so that's all the trade show folks that from tiny trade shows to massive ones, and to see their forecast. It was. I'm a big fan of being able to reach out in the community and learn from other groups and other leaders, and that was really helpful for me to know that I think y'all mentioned it pre-show. We're not all alone. You know, I mean, there's challenges across the board. We need to learn from each other, and that's the thing that I really believe that we're going to grow better communities. Just like you said, I mean, you're spot on. I think that our communities are going to be stronger, having gone through this. But they're going to be different. The digital piece, you know, I don't know. I mean, there will always be that, and some groups are really adopting it, and some are still kind of holding off a little bit. But we'll see. You know, kind of see how that shakes out. But I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully, we'll be able to come back out and do a tour of y'all's facility. I mean, I know that right now we're not pushing, you know, not even suggesting strongly. Some companies have already reached out to us and said it's really neat as we've been doing this series. People that I've never met, never connected with anywhere, are reaching out and saying, "Hey, we want you to come out and feature our facility and come out and do
so
tours."
Nice,
which is cool. You know, I would have never guessed that. But we'll take it, and I'm really looking forward to finding the neutral ground. You know, when folks are comfortable with opening back up, I'm ready to get back out there. We're looking forward to playing. What are some of the other pieces that you guys as a company are bringing to the table? I think you mentioned that there's maybe some products that are coming to the table. Recently?
Yes, we're really excited. This spring season was our first time launching Okabashi Kids. We have an adorable rain boot and a camp shoe that have been doing very, very well out there on the market. Super excited about that because all of our Okabashi fans for our men's and women's products can now buy them for their children and their grandchildren, and in bright, fun colors, all made in the USA and all fully recyclable.
Okay, very cool. Of all the places that I have toured, and we've done tons of tours. I mean, you know, we've been doing this about 14 years. Of all the places that I have toured, I don't know that I have toured any place that had as direct impact on customer feedback for me is when we tour Okabashi. Because every time, you know, somebody comes in and they learn about the manufacturing, and then they become brand advocates, right? So once they see that somebody's got to make these things, and it just happens to be somebody in our backyard, and they're great people and making good products that are good for the environment. On top of that, you know, all those pieces tied together. Plus, one thing I don't know how this works, but apparently the Okabashi sandals never wear out because I'm still wearing those shoes.
Totally. Well, that's the thing is when you think about sustainability, you've got to think it across the life cycle. So we've got Kim talked about all how it's made, the materials, the carbon footprint and bringing them in. You've got to think about the sustainability on the human aspect. Then you've also got to think about the duration of the life product. And if it's just going to last for a month and then you need to buy something else, it doesn't make sense. So we have our 2-year guarantee. We stand by American-made quality. And then at the end of the life cycle, if you, let's say, have too many shoes in your closet,
right?
It's happened to me before. You can.
I know that's possible, but yeah.
Yes, exactly. You can send that. You can send them back to us, or you can recycle them close to you, and get a 10% off discount. And it's all about having not only closed loop manufacturing in-house, but for post-consumer as well. And I think the key to circularity long-term is US manufacturing.
Okay.
You can't do it from afar. You have to be local.
Right. And I love one of the statistics that's on the webpage about the amount of fuel that's saved just by manufacturing and building these products here. It's fascinating, the savings and the impact that it has. That's cool. That's really, yeah.
Definitely. And also when you think about it, you think about, oh, well, if someone were to describe a product that is made in the US, that is recyclable, eco-friendly, all of these aspects, one's natural inclination would be to think of a high dollar price tag. Oh, goodness, how much do I need to fork out for this? one thing that we're so proud about is making these products accessible
Yes.
to everyone. The fact that you can have all of this for, a $20 piece of footwear, that's something that brings me a lot of extra joy in our work.
I love it. So if people want to find out more, there's a couple of pieces that we're going to kind of wrap this up with is how do they, before we go there, are there any challenges that you guys are facing that you think that you'd like to get some feedback from our extended Georgia Manufacturing Alliance family and the manufacturing community? Any challenges that are running into that you'd like to get some insight or input on? Just throwing it out there.
I think that, a lot of challenges we've seen are the thematic across the industry. And I think that the way, as we talked about, to counter it is through community.
Yeah.
So, it's just to continue to get to know everyone's stories, to share our own and go from there.
Beautiful. I love that. All right, on the supply chain side, tell us, are there any hiccups that are other than the yellow, right?
That there have been so many unexpected things that came up even across many industries. Corrugated boxes in short supply because of a raw material in the glue, for example. There's little unusual things that you just wouldn't have thought popping up. But, there's been a lot of labor shortages worldwide, not just even local here. And these things impact and have sort of a butterfly effect in so many ways that you can't even predict. So I think we're all just doing a lot of planning and forecasting above and beyond. And when it comes to the workforce and workforce development, we're just hoping to attract more people to the manufacturing industry. Manufacturing is fun. It's interesting. It keeps you engaged, and there's no 2 days that are alike. I love it. It's such a passion of mine, and it's really a place that you can grow a career. You can come in at the ground level. We at Okabashi love to promote from within. It's something that's very near and dear to our hearts, and so many of our leads and supervisors and managers are people who came in at an operator level and started out really at the ground floor and worked their way up. And we're so proud of that part of our workforce because we love having our coworkers who we've been working with for 5, 10, 15 years and seeing everybody grow and develop in their personal and their career.
That is awesome. Now, do you guys have any current openings in the manufacturing space? I mean, are you guys looking to have any open slots? And if so, how would people learn more about that? Do you have them posted on your website for open job recs, or what's the best way to get a hold?
We are growing. Okay. We're proud to be championing sustainably made in USA footwear, and that it is growing. So we are hiring across the board a number of different roles. Of course, that interest in manufacturing is a prerequisite. Yeah. We've got our information on our website as well.
Okay, and the website is?
Okabashi.com.
Okabashi.com. Now, you can do more than just apply for a position and learn about open positions. What else can folks do on your website?
There's all kinds of wonderful products to shop for, of course. We've got all of our shoes, so you can check it out and see the whole variety of colors that we've got, all kinds of fun colors, and learn a little bit more about our history, our story here, about the company, really everything about us.
Well, guys, I know that you are crazy busy, and this is like a wild time. I'm thankful that you were able to carve out a few minutes and hanging out with us. I'm going to give you a copy of this, of course, since you guys are in the book. Those of you that don't have it yet, go online to manufacturingsuccessingeorgia.com to learn about the book. You can order the book online. Make sure that you read in Chapter 2 about Okabashi and the footwear world and manufacturing. If you hadn't already done so, I would encourage you to do that. We do have a lot of events that are scheduled, throughout the balance of this month and upcoming, and you can find out about all of that at georgiamanufacturing.com for the upcoming events. Just to timestamp this a little bit, we're going to be meeting with Stuart Countess, the COO of Kia, on next Tuesday. Next Thursday, we're doing an event with Surface Mount Technology Association of Georgia, circuit board guys and gals, and we're going to be doing an interview of one of their top leaders at Prime Technology and doing a tour of Prime. It's a really cool thing. I know you don't have a lot of circuit boards in shoes, but hey, right? It's cool to learn best practices from other folks. Then we've got a tour, annual new member orientation and a tour of Iron Shield. Now, for some reason, our GMA tours tend to be really well attended at breweries. I don't know why, but we get to walk through and learn about the brewing process. And in addition to that, we're going to be doing a tour of the port. You guys had mentioned some of the challenges of supply chain. So what we did is we coordinated a tour of the Garden City Port. Amazing tour. We've taken it a couple times in the past. If you've not been to the tour, or if you've got employees that you like to send, it's really cool to see what all goes on at the port and to learn about, about what supply chain at that level, really what you're running into. Some of the challenges and the successes that we've had in Georgia. So guys, I tell you again, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful day, a wonderful opportunity to learn more about what's going on here at Okabashi. We'll come by and visit, take a tour one of these days in the very near future. But with that being said, make sure you check us out again at GeorgiaManufacturingAlliance.com, upcoming events, and the book tour details. So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this interview, and feel free to look at some of the other ones that we've done through the past as well.